Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Will. If you are new to the channel, welcome. Thanks for finding us. I hope you liked this video. If you're not subscribed and you could subscribe, it will be a huge help. And I know I sound like a broken record because I know I say that a lot, but it really does help. So let's jump right into this video. We are once again talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark, classic 1981 film that started the Indiana Jones franchise. This is my second video about the film. It was directed by Steven Spielberg. The plot was conceived of, or like the character, I guess, was conceived of by George Lucas and Spielberg, and the screenplay was written by Lawrence Kasdan. And what I'm going to be talking about in this video is the teaser for this film and why the teaser is so darn good. So what is a teaser? Let me describe that briefly before we get into the movie. The teaser is basically like the scene at the front of a film, and you typically see these movies in genre films and like blockbuster type of Hollywood films. Like if you're watching like a drama or an independent film that's not an American film, you're not always going to get a teaser. And even in American films, you're not always going to get a teaser. But in most big budget genre films or in like sci-fi and fantasy and stuff like that, you're going to get a teaser because teasers allow you to establish the characters, the world, the tone, the mood, the genre, and so many other aspects of the film that in genre cinema especially is very important for the audience to understand right away. The Matrix is another film with a brilliant teaser, which I will do a separate video on. But let's jump into the Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark teaser. I'm just going to walk you through some screenshots that kind of establish, generally speaking, what is in the teaser, and then we'll talk about why I think it's so darn good. Here we go. Let's do this. So this has nothing to do with the content of the teaser. I just think this is a really cool shot where the Paramount Mountain logo fades into the mountain that is on location in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just a really cool way to start a movie. So here we are. We establish this is the title card of the film. This is kind of the opening shot after we see that big mountain, and we see this guy with the hat on and the leather jacket back to the camera with these two guys who are with him. One of these guys is played by Alfred Molina. And I apologize, but I actually don't off the top of my head know the name of the actor who plays the other guy. But he's out and he's in the jungle and he's adventuring, and they're with him. At some point within this teaser, he pulls out a map. And we know this is a dangerous location because we see like poison darts stuck into trees. And the two assistants who are with him are talking about like, oh, this tribe that might be out in the woods trying to get them and stuff like that. The setting here is 1936 in South America. Now, Indiana Jones pulls out a map at some point early in this teaser, and this guy, who's not the Alfred Molina assistant, he's the other assistant who's there, pulls out a gun. Indy hears him cocking the gun, and he pulls out his whip, and he whips the gun away. So we're establishing a lot in this really quick section of just like really 3 shots. The guy pulling out the gun, you see Indy hearing the gun, and then he pulls out his whip and whips the gun away. What are we establishing here? We're establishing the fact that this is a treacherous world where people will betray you. We are establishing the fact that Indiana Jones is very, very aware of his environment because he hears the click of the gun, even though he's looking at the map doing something else. We are also establishing the fact that he has enough experience in the field and around weapons to know that that sound is the hammer on a gun. And we establish the fact that his preferred weapon is a whip, and he is very, very good with it. So then we go into the cave, which is where they find the idol that they are looking for in this scene. So the cave is what they're looking for, and he's got his map. They find the cave. Now, in this shot, he's telling his other assistant, the Alfred Molina character, not to step into the light because there's a booby trap. So then what are we learning here? He is well-researched, well-educated, and he understands from not only experience, but also the way that he's prepared for this mission through his education and through his research, there will be booby traps, and this light coming down into the cave probably is one of those booby traps. Then he gets up to the idol, very famous shot, and he understands, again, the pedestal that the idol is on is probably booby-trapped, and he's going to need to put something of equal weight on top of that booby trap in order to be able to take the idol without a bunch of traps, opening and killing him or whatever. Now, what happens next? The Alfred Molina character betrays him. He actually does not see this betrayal coming. That's interesting to me because we established that he's aware of his surroundings, that he's experienced in the field, that he handles himself well with the weapons, he's very intelligent, he's well educated, he's well researched, but he also does tend to really trust people if he has a bit of a history with them. And you see consistently throughout the Indiana Jones series that he gets kind of blindsided by being betrayed by people who he believes he could trust. That's an interesting character point to me, and it's maybe it's just something they set up to add tension in this trailer, and it wasn't a character flaw that they were trying to have play out over a franchise of films, because they probably didn't even know they were going to get a franchise of films out of this when they made this film. But it is, for me, something that's interesting to think about. So he manages to jump across this little ravine that has opened up in the floor as a booby trap, pull himself up on a vine, and run away from this boulder. That establishes that he is physically very capable. He's very athletic, he's strong, he's fast. Now, this is Balak, who is the French archaeologist who is his rival. This guy becomes his primary rival in the second act of the film, but we don't see him again for at least probably like 30 or 40 minutes after we see him here. But this is very, very smart, because this is what's called setup and payoff. You set this guy up in the beginning so you can pay off their rivalry later in the film. So he's not just some random guy who shows up and Indy has like maybe one line of dialogue where he's like, oh, it's you again. Like, we establish him as a rival and as a kind of an amoral guy who is willing to do things that Indiana Jones is not willing to do in order to achieve his goal of his obsessive dedication to archaeology, right? Which again, set up and payoff. When he's working with the Nazis, we believe that, because we've established in the opening scene that he is willing to do things that are maybe immoral as long as it helps him serve his goal of his devotion to archaeology. And then we set up the fact that Indiana Jones hates snakes, which again is set up and payoff, because this pays off a lot throughout the entire series. Because that's the teaser. Now I want to do a little thought experiment with you. This is the next scene. It's Indiana Jones teaching in class. If you chopped the teaser off of this movie, it would not change the plot at all. Let's say you started with Indy teaching in class. Then you go into the next scene, which is the inciting incident, where the government guys come and they talk to Indy about the headpiece of the staff of Ra and Abner Ravenwood, who was Indy's professor and mentor when he was younger, and the Nazis and all this stuff, right? The movie would move as it moves now without the teaser. But if you start with Indiana Jones in a class teaching, and then he's at that bar in Nepal with Marion, if you're familiar with the scene, and there's like flames everywhere and machine guns going off, and he's fighting with people and brawling. And then we go to Egypt, and he's fighting with Nazis, and he's fighting with the local guys the Nazis have hired, and he's like sneaking into these caves, and he's, there's a scene where he jumps off a boat and he swims over to a German submarine as it's like going into the water, and like, without this teaser, you'd be like, how the hell is this professor able to do all this stuff, right? It sets up his character. It sets up this world of danger. It sets up the idea that in this world, people are willing to do immoral, amoral, violent, brutal, unthinkable things in the name of archaeology, right? The entire context of the world is set up. The rivalry between Indy and Balak is set up. Indy's character is set up. Like, this teaser completely colors and informs everything you see that comes after it. Theme de cinema, a little bit of Godard for you there at the end. But to me, that's what makes it such a brilliant teaser, is that it sets up everything. You understand the world, the character, the tone, the relationships of this film perfectly from this opening like 6-minute scene. It is so well done. So my name is Will. I thank you as always for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there's other movies with teasers that you really like, please let me know, and I would love to do breakdowns of them. Like I said, I'm going to do the teaser from The Matrix as a breakdown. God, there was another one I was thinking about doing that just flew. Oh, I was going to do a video on the way that Guillermo del Toro uses teasers to establish mythology and world very succinctly in his films. I think that would be a really interesting video. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments, and maybe I could expedite that video if a lot of people are interested in it. But again, as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.